So I made a big mistake and almost lost a client. So I shot an event last weekend and I completely screwed up a lot of the images and a lot of the clips because I didn't follow my usual event workflow. Now I'm going to walk you through 5 simple steps in this video that I usually use to avoid this problem. Let's start from the beginning. My client reached out to me and she said, Jay, I have this event that I'm going to put together and it's about Black history, but people are going to be able to use their phones and bring the artwork to life. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And that is something that I definitely want to be a part of. So yeah, sign me up. So she confirmed the date and time. We talked about the expectations. I got her set up in my CRM. I sent her a contract and I booked her in my event calendar. I was like, this is going to be a breeze because it's only about 100 guests and I've shot 400 guests easy, no problem. But what I didn't realize is that kind of arrogant thinking was going to come back and bite me in the arse later on. On the event day, I turned up as I normally would do an hour and a half before. I like to do this because I want to get there before everybody, all the guests arrive, so I'm comfortable and settled. I got there and I got myself set up and I just started shooting. I only brought one camera at this event because the client had a very low budget and I wanted to keep the budget down on my end as well, so I didn't rent a second camera body. What I didn't know is that that mistake was also going to come back and bite me in the butt later on. But let's keep going. 2 hours into the event, I started realizing that my back was hurting. I didn't think much about it, but I just kept on because I wanted to get the client as many quality and as many good footage and photos as much as possible. And also I wanted to make the event look as big as possible. Given that it was only 100 guests, I wanted to really bring this event to life. So I was just shooting, I was just getting in there, I was just getting it done. 3 hours in to the event, my back was completely killing me. My feet was killing me. I was in so much pain and I was like, what is going on here? Anyway, one of the next problem I realized is that I was not checking my shots. I didn't check any of the shots for the last 3 hours, but I didn't think anything of it. Looking at the screen, I thought I captured what I needed. But again, that was going to be a problem later on. But let's keep going. 4 hours in to the event, I was finished now. I was completely exhausted. I was in so much pain. My head was hurting. My back was hurting. My stomach was hurting. I was hungry. I was just not in a good place. We got to the end of the event. My client kept looking over at me. She was asking me repeatedly, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. I'm good. No problem. I'm okay. But I think she knew that something was a bit off. And for me now, that was just not professional. But at the time, I was so exhausted that it really didn't matter to me, if I'm going to be honest about it. Anyway, I finished up what I was doing. I packed all my stuff away and I said goodbye and then I left. I got home. I was so exhausted. I grabbed something to eat. I had a shower and I just went straight to bed. The next day now, I got up and I started reviewing the shots. I started looking at the photos and I was like, what the hell? There were so many bad photos there that I was like, what the hell happened? I knew one of the issue was there. I was not checking my shots afterwards. I was also, the big screen on my camera was not working properly. Also, I had a Sony issue where anytime you're shooting 4K, this actual external monitor goes black when you start recording. And now it's biting me in the butt because I had really bad footage. In some cases, I had flickering. Yeah, so the footage was just, in many cases, was not really good. So I spent an extra week trying to fix all of these problems to make sure that I don't lose the client. Now, this is the problem, or I wouldn't say problem, but this is compound onto my concerns, is that the client is on holiday, her first holiday for 3, 4, 5 years, I think she said, in Jamaica somewhere on the beach. And she needed to review the clips while she was on holiday before she gets back to the UK because she's prepping for another event. And this needed to slow ball into that event because she needed to use the clips and the photos to promote the next event, right? So you see how important this is. And I was just so worried. Anyway, I finished the edit. I sent her the clips. I was already apologizing to her, saying, you know, the clips look, the photos look amazing. I'm happy with the results. We could have done more, blah, blah, blah. And I was just going on and on. Anyway, she replied and she was like, Jay, I like the photos. They look really good. I've shared them with my sister and I'm going to be sharing them on social media soon. So I was like, oh, thank you, God. To help you avoid making the same or similar mistakes, I'm going to walk you through my event workflow. I have used this workflow successfully in the past, shooting much larger events. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through my event workflow on event day. So one of the first things I do when I get to an event, I start shooting decorations, event presentation, and anything that's related to branding. So anything around those three things are the first things that I start focusing on. And I do this before anybody arrives or before the guest starts arriving and before people start moving things around. So number two, I then move on to capturing establishing shots and guest arrivals. So at this stage, I'm setting the scene. So anybody watching the recap video or photos, they can see, okay, this is the first thing that happens when the guest arrives and this is what it looks like. At this stage now, I take like a 5-minute break. I start looking at my shots. I start checking what I've documented so far, making sure that everything looks good, straight. I'm not having issues with my clips. Photos are looking great, colors are looking good. I'm double checking to make sure that everything's all like how I want it to be. That gives me a chance to sit down a little bit, to rest my feet, make sure my back is rested. You know, 5 minutes is more than enough to relax for a little bit. The third thing I start doing, I start now on candid shots. So this is when I start getting like close-up shots over people's shoulder, people interacting, people engaging, talking, laughing, trying to capture as much emotions as possible so I can feed that into my final photos or final video. I then just relax again for about another 3 to 5 minutes. I check all my shots. I make sure that everything is good, make sure I'm happy. Then I move on to number 4. Number 4 is client specifics. I always have a consultation call with my clients. I make sure that everything is all the specifics are discussed. I make sure that they have a clear expectation. I set a clear expectation in their mind on what's going to happen on the day. Make sure that is all clear. I then give them the opportunity to talk about anything specific that they need. So I write that down and I add that into my shot list. Then I move on to, after checking the shots again, obviously I take a couple of minutes. I try and between 3 and 4 minutes between each session, and I then just double check my shots, make sure I got what the client asked for, and then I move on to my step 5. So step 5 now is interview with the clients and the guests. I usually do this at step 5 because by this time the clients are usually more relaxed, they've had a drink or two, they're chilled, they're more willing to engage, they're not as nervous, they've already built some relationship with people and things like that. So it's easier at that stage, in my mind anyway, and from my experience, that getting interview shots more later on in the event has always worked for me. People are always ready to, you know what I mean, party, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, people are always ready to just get into it. Like, yeah, can we have a shot too? Can we have a group shot too? So I get that a lot. Once people see me taking group shots of other guests or the groups of the clients and things like that, people always want to have their photos done as well. So yeah, I always leave group shots and interview questions for the end. Now, for interview questions, I always just ask them simple questions like, oh, what brought you to the event today? What made you choose this event? What's your takeaway from the event? And just simple things like that. Just questions that I can just kind of note into my recap video, just to give someone later on that was not at the event the opportunity to understand how people engaged with what was going on, people's opinion and views on things like that. So yeah, I always do that at the end. So guys, yeah, so that's it for today's video. It's a bit of a short video, but I just wanted to bang this video out. I didn't want it to be perfect. I was trying to get it out for some time and I just didn't want to overthink it. So if you're serious about your corporate business, guys, these are the things that needs to be taken seriously. So let's get this corporate money, guys. Don't quit and keep it simple.